They say getting older is about slowing down, looking back at the past and finding peace in quiet routines. But what if your heart still knows how to feel? What if, at 65, you can still catch feelings from just a smile or the sound of a warm voice over morning coffee? We believe love doesn't age. It just becomes quieter, like a well-steeped cup of tea. Not too sweet, but deep, comforting. And then one day, you decide to open your heart again. Your first date in years. She's 52. The cafe is calm, just quiet enough for you to hear your own heartbeat. Not from nerves, but from hope. You arrive early, fix your collar, take a slow breath. You think, if someone could just listen, really listen, maybe that's enough. But then she smiles and gently lays out 4 conditions. And it's not that your heart breaks, it's more like something inside you goes still. Quiet, not because her demands were too much, but because love, something that should feel warm, easy, natural, suddenly felt like an audition. So you walk away. No anger, no judgment, just silence. And one quiet question echoing in your mind: do we lose our sense of romance as we get older? Or do the scars we carry make us build fences, even around those who mean well? That day, it wasn't just a date, it was a reminder. Love doesn't need a contract. It just needs 2 hearts, gentle enough not to hurt each other. We know. Opening your heart again after 60 isn't easy. You once had a family, someone to call my love, a life full of shared dinners, weekend plans, and dreams built together. Then one day, the house is still there, but dinner is for one. The seat across the table is empty, and the sounds you once took for granted become luxuries you quietly miss. You don't complain, you've made peace with silence. But sometimes while making tea or hearing an old song, your heart quietly aches, because you miss what it feels like to be cared for, unconditionally. Not because you're lonely, but because you still have so much love left to give. And yet, the older we get, the harder it becomes to open up again. You fear being judged for your past. You fear having to explain the things that still hurt. You wonder if someone new will only see numbers, your pension, your home, your health. You don't want to be someone's project or their retirement plan. You want to be seen as a whole person, wise, tender, and still capable of loving deeply. But here's something few talk about. Dating today is different. Gone are the long walks in the park just to talk. Gone are the late calls just to ask, did you sleep well? Now the questions sound more like, would you be open to sharing your bank account? Should we plan a luxury trip to prove this is real? Or worse, if you really love me, you'll do XYZ. And that's when the doubt creeps in. Is it me? Am I just old-fashioned? Or has love changed? You're not angry, just tired. Because after 60, it turns out even love needs to be proven somehow. But deep down, you know the truth. You don't need anyone to make up for the years you've lost. You just want someone, real. Someone who doesn't make you feel compared, tested, or measured. Someone who reminds you, gently, quietly, that you can still love and be loved in the softest, most peaceful way. After all the confusion, the doubts, the quiet hurts, we came to realize something small. But that small thing, it changed everything. Love after 60 doesn't have to be complicated, but it does need to be real. It doesn't need grand gestures. It doesn't need perfect words. It just needs someone who can sit beside you in silence and still make you feel heard. Someone who listens, who doesn't judge, who looks at you, not for what you have, but for who you are. And most of all, love at this age should begin with respect, not tests. We used to think, if you want love later in life, you need to adjust, be flexible. But one day, we finally saw it clearly. Wanting to love someone doesn't mean losing yourself to do it. You don't need to be more interesting. You don't need to look younger. You don't need to chase anyone's attention. You just need to keep 3 things close: honesty, self-respect, and gentle boundaries. The kind that protect you without pushing others away. Because when you hold on to those 3, the right person won't miss it. They'll feel it. And now, we want to share with you the 6 lessons we learned from a date that seemed simple, but ended up changing the way we see love after 60. Maybe one of these lessons will make you smile. Maybe another will make you stop and feel something. But more than anything, we hope they help you believe again. Believe that your heart is never too old to love well. Lesson 1. Love should never be measured in money. We thought we understood things by now. that at our age, everyone carries old wounds, and maybe a bit of caution is only natural. So when Christine, during that first date, gently said, "If we're serious, I'd like us to live together for 6 months, but for peace of mind, I'd need you to deposit $20,000 into a joint account." We didn't get angry. We didn't walk away right then. We just paused. Not because of the money, but because of what it meant. Because it felt like a test, like love had a price tag. Have you ever felt that? When someone asks something, and even if they say it kindly, you suddenly feel like you're being valued, not seen? That moment taught us something. Real love doesn't need receipts. It needs trust. Someone who truly wants to walk beside you won't ask for proof. They'll be present. They'll watch how you speak, how you listen, how you care, even in small ways. Love is not a transaction. It's not a negotiation. It's something that only exists when two people step forward, without conditions, without guarantees. And yes, it took us some time, but we learned. If someone ever asks, "So how much are you willing to invest in this?" we can now answer with calm and clarity. I invest with my kindness, my presence, and my honesty, not with my bank account. Lesson 2. Love doesn't begin with a luxury trip. We used to think, if it's real love, maybe it deserves a grand start. So when Christine smiled and talked about a month-long trip to Hawaii, beachfront resorts, professional photos, matching outfits, even a mock wedding shoot, we didn't say no right away. We just listened and waited to see how it felt. But something in us didn't feel excited. It didn't feel warm. It felt scripted, like the role of loving partner had already been written, and we were expected to step in and play the part. And that's when we asked ourselves, is this really about getting to know each other, or just about creating the image of a perfect romance? We remembered a different kind of morning. Quiet, simple. 2 cups of coffee in a small park. No camera, no plans, just a shared smile when a little dog ran past, a gentle laugh at an old memory. That, we realized, was real. Because love doesn't need to be broadcast. It doesn't need proof. Sometimes, the most meaningful connection starts with a look across the table, a shared silence, a story told slowly, not because it's dramatic, but because someone truly wants to hear it. We learned that if love demands a performance from the start, maybe it isn't love at all. Because real love doesn't need a backdrop. It just needs 2 people, fully present, fully themselves. Lesson 3. Walking together doesn't mean giving up control. We've always believed, when you truly love someone, sharing is natural. You want them to feel safe. You want to build something together. So when Christine said, "If we get married, I'd like to manage all your retirement income. I'm good with money. I'll give you a monthly allowance," she said it kindly, like it made perfect sense. But the feeling that followed wasn't comfort. It was a quiet, sinking sense of being small, not because of the money, but because of the message. If you love me, let me control everything. Have you ever had someone say, "Don't worry, I'll handle it," and instead of feeling supported, you feel like you're slowly disappearing from your own life? We weren't looking for someone to manage us. We were looking for someone to walk beside us. A partner, not a supervisor. Someone who says, "Let's decide this together," not "I've decided for you." Because true love doesn't shrink you. It makes space for your voice, your preferences, your way of doing things. We learned something that day. If someone loves you, they won't want to take control of your life. They'll want to share it with you. And that kind of love, it doesn't ask for permission. It offers respect. Lesson 4. Personal space is healthy, but it shouldn't become a wall. After years of living alone, we understand the value of personal space. Everyone has their routines, their preferences, their quiet habits, and that's perfectly okay. So when Christine said, "If we ever live together, I'll need my own bedroom. I've gotten used to my space," we nodded. It seemed reasonable, mature even. But what made us pause wasn't the request. It was how she said it. This is non-negotiable. It's not up for discussion. That's when we realized something. Physical distance isn't nearly as painful as emotional distance. We can sleep in different rooms, eat at different times, have different ways to start the day. But love needs a door left open, a soft place for the other to step in. When someone builds a wall from the beginning, not to protect themselves, but to keep you out, is that really connection? Or just cohabiting with borders? Real love allows room for closeness, even in silence. It makes you feel welcomed, not managed, invited, not instructed. We've learned that respect doesn't mean cold distance, and independence doesn't mean emotional isolation. Because in the end, the right kind of love isn't about rules, it's about rhythm, two people finding a shared space, even when they need separate corners to rest. Lesson 5. Don't ignore the voice of your intuition. There's something no one really teaches you. Intuition doesn't shout, it whispers. Christine didn't say anything cruel. She wasn't pushy, she smiled, she spoke gently. Everything seemed polite, thoughtful. But something inside us went quiet, a feeling we couldn't name. Not panic, not anger, just that soft inner voice saying something's off. We tried to brush it away, told ourselves we were being too cautious, too closed off. But then a wise friend said, that uncomfortable feeling, that's your heart trying to protect you. You've earned that voice. Listen to it. And suddenly, it made sense. It wasn't that we couldn't move on. It was that something in us knew. This isn't trust. This is a warning. Real love doesn't make you second-guess yourself all the time. It doesn't leave you with questions that spin in your head. Am I overreacting? Do I need to be more open? Am I ruining this by feeling unsure? Love, the kind worth holding on to, makes you feel calm. Not because it's perfect, but because it feels right. We've learned this. The older you get, the more precious your intuition becomes. It's not fear, it's wisdom, wrapped in silence. So when that quiet voice inside says, wait, or this doesn't feel safe, honor it. That's your heart remembering what you've already survived. Lesson 6. The right relationship won't make you work to be accepted. During that date, one quiet question kept echoing in our minds. Am I doing okay? We found ourselves trying a little too hard, telling stories with extra charm, laughing more, holding back parts of ourselves that felt too ordinary. We even considered whether we should say yes to a few things we didn't really feel comfortable with, just to keep the mood light, just to not seem difficult. But near the end, the hardest part wasn't her conditions. It was realizing this. We were already changing before even falling in love. Have you ever felt that? When you catch yourself smiling at something that doesn't feel funny? Nodding when deep down you want to say no? Not because you agree, but because you don't want to be judged. Because you think maybe you need to prove that you're still worth loving. That moment taught us something deep. Love, real love, won't make you shrink to fit. The right person won't ask you to be more exciting, more stylish, more modern, more anything. They'll listen when you talk about your morning walks. They'll smile when you describe your favorite soup. They'll respect the quiet, steady life you've built without trying to reshape it. We've learned this. You shouldn't have to perform to be loved. You should feel safe enough to simply be you, and the person who truly sees you won't want anything else. Maybe, after hearing all this, you're thinking of someone, a moment, a date that made you laugh or left you quiet for days, a time when you opened your heart and slowly closed it again. We're not sharing this to complain. We're sharing it so you know you are not alone. No matter your age, you still deserve love. Not because of what you can offer, but because your heart still beats with warmth. And someone, somewhere, is hoping to find that same gentle rhythm. Have you ever been on a date that left you smiling or a little heartbroken? Tell us in the comments. You never know, your story might be the one someone else needed to hear. If you believe love after 60 doesn't need to be loud, just real, leave a heart below. Let others see you and maybe feel a little braver to be seen too. Which of these lessons spoke to you the most? We read every comment, and we'd love to know your thoughts. Sometimes all it takes is a single story to make someone feel seen, understood, and maybe even hopeful again. And if you're still looking for that quiet, safe, beautiful connection, keep watching. Because next, we'll share the one thing that helped us heal, trust again, and move forward, without losing ourselves. That date didn't leave us angry or bitter. It left us clear. Clear about what we want. Clear about what we won't settle for. And more than anything, grateful. Grateful for the experience. Grateful we listened to our hearts. Grateful we didn't stay in something that made us question our worth. Because now we know, at this stage of life, we're not looking for someone to complete us. We've made it through too much to feel incomplete. We're looking for someone to walk beside us, Someone who gets the beauty of slow mornings, quiet dinners, and shared memories, even if they're still being written. Someone who doesn't need a perfect version of us, just the real one. The one who still remembers that old song. The one who still laughs at bad jokes. The one who tears up when they see their favorite flower blooming again in spring. Love, at this age, doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be true. And if this story made you pause, even for a moment, to feel something, to remember something, or to hope again, then maybe that's all we ever needed to give you today. Because love, in any season of life, should be a place where you feel safe to be soft, a place where you don't have to perform, a place where just being yourself is more than enough. So if you're still waiting, still hoping, still healing, be patient. Maybe you haven't met them yet, but you've met yourself, and that's who love should always begin with.